Hey everyone, welcome to the Merit Senior Living free 30-minute webinar. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country right now. I'd like to thank everybody for their time and for any attention you're able to give to this over the next 30 minutes or so. So we'll start diving right in. My name is Jason Kisa. I'm the Training and Development Manager with Merit Senior Living. My contact information is right there on the home screen. If you see any need to follow up with me after this program here, feel free to email me or you can give me a phone call. The program today is Resolving Workplace Conflict. This is a program created by DDI, and we are certified facilitators for DDI programs. And this program is a really great program. It comes in a 4-hour course or a 2-hour course. It can be modified to 2 hours. And just some really great information here. The Resolving Workplace Conflict is more specifically for members of leadership and management in an effort to manage conflict that can occur in the workplace. There is another program called Navigating Beyond Conflict that is for teams and I'd say peer-to-peer, where individuals can learn themselves about how to approach conflict and work through conflict within their workspace and how it affects them. But both programs are excellent, and I hope you get some value out of today. So just some background information. If you're not familiar, we are Merit Senior Living. You can learn more about us at meritseniorliving.com, and our training-specific website is seniorlivingleadership.com. In a nutshell, Merit Senior Living is an HR outsourcing organization, and we work with senior living communities all across the country in a variety of ways. For some of our clients, we partner with, we are an extension of their HR department, so many of our clients have HR professionals, very talented HR professionals on staff, and we provide really any support we can from the administration side and guidance and things like that to help them be more effective in their role, help them focus on bigger picture strategic things rather than getting caught up in the day-to-day fires and administration and things of that nature that can happen simply by having your doors open and serving a clientele for you as residents. So we partner with senior living organizations, communities that have HR professionals on staff. And then for some of our clients, we are the HR department. So we partner with the office manager, their executive director or administrator, or whoever that might be, and we provide them as much guidance and support in everything HR. So my role under that HR umbrella is training and development, and my role is to manage this training area for our clients, and I speak with senior living leaders all across the country and really try to get an idea on what is relevant, what is meaningful, and what is needed within the workplace. And we have programs. If you go to seniorlivingleadership.com, we have programs on there that you can choose from, or if you have a need that you don't feel would be fulfilled by any of those programs, we're certainly open to discussing creating original material. So enough about that. Websites are right there if you are interested. So what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about conflict. And I want to start off with kind of an attitude about conflict. I think a lot of people believe conflict is bad. Now, it can certainly be bad, but some people, when they think of conflict, that's the first they get anxiety or feel stressed with the thought of conflict. And just kind of want to nip that in the bud right away. And I want to challenge everybody to think of conflict as an opportunity, right? We can make a decision with our attitudes to approach anything in a certain light, and so I want to encourage everyone to, whether it's on this call or hopefully beyond this call, that you're able to really look at the concept of conflict objectively and see the good that can come out of it. Because if you look at things that have happened within your organizations or communities, or if you want to go on a much bigger scale, and look at any significant changes that have happened over the course of history, they started with some kind of conflict and chaos. Somebody or something was not happy with something, and somebody took charge to create a little bit of conflict, and it can be a great source of change and innovation. So really want to challenge everybody to think about conflict in those styles, because conflict is natural, it's unavoidable. We're social creatures regardless of how social we are, how extroverted or introverted we are. We do surround ourselves with people, and most likely there will be conflicts that can occur. So these are just some things that can cause conflict within people, but it's totally natural, and we want to look at it as natural and opportunity. So conflict is natural. The agenda for the day: we want to recognize signs of conflict. As the leaders of your communities and leaders within your communities, we want to be very proactive about conflict. We want to see it as opportunity, and we want to be very proactive about conflict, and part of it is having our eyes open and recognizing the signs of conflict as they are occurring. We want to prevent damage. We want to promote discovery. This is kind of the attitude thing I was just talking about. If you go into every conflict, or if you see conflict as damaging, you're going to react differently and approach it differently than if you see this opportunity and an opportunity to discover. So we want to prevent the damage and promote discovery, and that starts with a productive attitude. We want to talk about who's accountable for resolving conflict. I facilitated Navigating Beyond Conflict last week at one of our client sites, and a question came up where the leader was unclear on the role that they played in resolving conflict with the folks that reported to them. It was on the healthcare side it was a CCRC, and it was there on the healthcare side, and part of the perspective was that they're not going to get involved. They didn't want to micromanage. They didn't want to babysit to a certain degree. But it's also looking at it differently of the role as a leader, depending on what level the conflict's at. We need to recognize what we are accountable for and how we can influence the situation. We want to coach. We don't want to micromanage. We don't want to be a dictator. We don't want to just lay the hammer down and set rules. We want to coach. And we want to coach to meet personal needs and meet practical needs so people can be successful all the way around. We want to play a role of mediator, and it's toward a common goal. And most importantly, once we kind of figure this stuff out, we want to be able to apply it within the worlds that we work in. Live in and work in. So that's the agenda for the day. We're covering a lot of information. A lot of it's high level. It's just touch points. But again, if you need follow-up information, you just need to let me know, and I'll do whatever I can do to support you. So conflict continuum. There's 3 stages of conflict we want to look at. And and this is kind of this stage, this continuum, it's an escalation of conflict from discovery to a state that can be really damaging. And part of the leadership, part of your role as a leader is to pay attention to this, to recognize, is this just in this stage or has it escalated? So the first stage is differences. And differences is just differences in opinion. We have differences all the time. A lot of times differences can be worked out or just agreed upon. You know what, we'll agree to disagree. You know, they're minor differences. They don't create a lot of disruption, things of that nature. The second form is discord. This is where the tension is beginning to rise, but people are still, still working with each other and still trying to listen to each other and things of that nature. But at some point, if needs are not being met and situations are not being resolved and agreements are not made, it will go into dispute. And dispute is the stage where pretty strong opinions, it can be an all-out argument or disagreement. People, when they're in a dispute, they're not listening very well, and they're certainly not focused on discovery. And if it goes unmanaged, will lead to damage. damage in relationships, damage in productivity, damage in, there's lots of consequences of conflict if it is not managed properly. So as a leader, you want to be paying attention to the tipping point with all of these stages, okay? We want to pay attention to the tipping point with this. So at what point do these differences start to have a negative impact on others and the organization? Again, differences are one thing. Everybody's got differences, but as a leader, we need to pay attention to the differences and make sure that they stay differences, right? Because when there's differences and if people are in that differences mode, they're still willing to work with each other. The differences are kind of being brought on the table, but there's still conversation around it. There's discovery that can happen. Once it starts scooting past that, we need to be paying attention to that. And as a leader within an organization, a leader within your community who is responsible for living and working the vision and values and mission, and you've likely been exposed to the big picture goals of the organization. You're responsible for creating a culture there. It is your responsibility to pay attention to this. It's not responsible to turn the other cheek and just let conflicts occur. I'm not saying get involved and start meddling in everything, but I'm saying paying attention to it so you can recognize when things go astray. So causes of conflict. Lots of things can cause conflicts. Goals and priorities, personality differences, maybe people are fighting for resources. Sometimes people just don't trust each other, and you have culture and language differences. In another program that I facilitate working as a high-performing team, it really drills down into the trust issues that can happen among team. And if there's not trust, it's much easier for it to go from the differences down to the dispute fairly quickly, right? So part of us being a leader, and leadership is managing our people and managing processes and things of that nature. We should put it on our shoulders to understand those around us, the responsibilities, their personalities, things of that nature. Part of being proactive is kind of seeing how things can happen within the workplace. So we want to pay attention to really when conflicts are occurring, what is the cause of it? A lot of people can focus on surface problems and not deal with the root causes. And as a leader, we want to break through it and focus on root causes. So who's accountable in this? I talked about, just a moment ago, like it can be confusing as a leader. Where do you step and where do you not? But as a leader, we want to be alert for the signs of conflict. We want to uncover the root cause. We don't want to play on the surface level and be pointing fingers and assigning labels to things that are not real. Our goal is to prevent escalation, and that's part of our responsibility. Facilitate resolution, and again, we want to spark a spirit of discovery. Just think if everybody in your workforce approach conflict as an opportunity to discover instead of taking things personal and fighting for their position. Be a big difference. The employees, we need to put it on their employees that it's their responsibility to take ownership. They are responsible. We'll get into this more later, but we want to promote an environment where they are developing ideas and solutions, and finally they're taking action. So it's our job to be alert, to help them figure out root causes, prevent an escalation, facilitate resolution, and they need to make it happen. So that's a big difference. A lot of leaders want to step in and fix things if they get to that point, but that's not the best course of action, and we're going to be talking about that as we move forward. So at each of these stages, we want to be, we can play a role in this. So in the differences role, we can keep on encouraging, we can shine a positive spirit on it. Differences are okay. This is where opportunity happens, and that's the role we can play. We don't even need to meddle. When we get into discord, we do want to provide a little bit of guidance. And then if it gets into an all-out dispute, we need to mediate resolution. Okay, because again, in that dispute, people are at a point where they're not willing to work with each other and they're not listening, and it can go downhill real quick. And it's our job as leaders to manage that. So I won't read through every bullet point here, but you can kind of look this over. So when we get into the discord and dispute stages, are we going to coach or are we going to mediate, right? So just take a moment and read through this slide. All right. Now, when you're coaching, there's some bullet points here that outline the coaching. Previous to joining Merit, I had a really cool experience. I was worked as a business coach with a organization called eMyth, and I worked with small business owners all over the country. And it was really fascinating because these people were paying a lot of money to work with the coach, and my job was not to be an expert in their business because they were experts in their business. My job as their coach was to help them recognize that they were leaders, help them be confident in themselves, help them think outside of the box, help them be objective, right? So I was kind of a sounding board and an accountability partner when it came to my clients from a coaching perspective. And coaching is not necessarily managing. It is different. There is you know, if you think about athletes, the coach is to help them, is to kind of watch, sit on the sideline, and help them achieve superior performance. And that's what you want to do within your employee group. And it doesn't matter if they're a frontline employee or a peer, you can play the role of a coach. And again, it's to inspire confidence. It's to, as it says in the third bullet point, encourage people to understand others' points of view, get out of their own way. Right? So coach, we want to become a coach when needed. Again, when it gets in that discord phase, we want to be providing coaching. Just a little review on that. So how do you provide, whether it's coaching or mediation, how do you do this? Okay, so one of the things that DDI has created this interaction essentials, and it's really a five-step process for an interaction with an individual. Okay, and I have some more information. Again, I can provide you if you need. But the purpose of the interaction, it's almost like we want to check. We have a checklist of 5 different things, and we want to figure out how to organize the conversation with folks and the people we're working with to be able to check those boxes off. We want to have an opening with the discussion. You know, get everything on the table. We want to move into clarification. Why are we in this dispute? Let's make sure we're clarifying all the information to make sure everybody has an understanding. Once everybody agrees on this and has an understanding on what the reality of the situation is, how do we move into developing a resolution for that? We want to develop a resolution for that. That's our role, to guide them and inspire them and do all that. And once, as the development of the resolution is occurring, we want to start to get agreement from both parties that A, they agree on the development, and B, they agree on actions to take to make sure the resolution occurs. And then finally, we want to close it. Now, closing it could be checking agreeing on checking back on things, agreeing on what the result is, but you know, part of a close is celebrating the fact that and showing appreciation for what just happened and that they were able to work through it. So you want to open, clarify, develop, agree, and close with all the conversations you have. In the center of the circle there, this is what's called the DDI's key factors in achieving personal needs. And in every conversation we have with somebody, we want to pay attention to their esteem. We want to be empathetic. We want to make sure we're getting them involved. We want to be sharing the information as that builds trust. And we want to make sure that they know that they have our support without taking their responsibility. And these are concepts we're going to dive into in just a moment here, but we want to pay attention to their self-esteem, make sure that they know that we are empathetic, give them an opportunity to be involved in help, to play a role in resolving the situation, sharing our candid thoughts and feelings on things to build trust and to bring everything together and support them. So there's 5 things we can do using the personal needs as leaders to facilitate a conversation and mediate a conversation to get the best results. So one is expressing the emotions that people are expressing so they feel heard and understood. We want to express that empathy, right? That builds trust. That builds that person is listening to me. Empathy is a very critical concept to bring to the table with any relationship dynamic, especially when we're trying to resolve conflict. Asking a lot of open-ended questions to clarify situations. We want to make sure we're encouraging every party involved, every party that's involved to participate and be involved. Okay? So this is meeting the personal need, getting them involved, asking for their help, getting their buy-in, etc., etc. We want to make sure that we are expressing confidence in people's strengths, whether it's one-on-one coaching or whether it is mediating a conflict between 2 people or a group of people. We want to make sure that we are expressing our confidence in their strengths and their ability to figure this out. Okay? This is very different than walking into a situation and being impatient and sharing people why you're frustrated and everything you could say to turn it into a negative spirit. Express confidence, make sure that they know you have their back and that you are confident that they can resolve the situation. And be candid with your thoughts and concerns. Don't you really want to build trust here. You want to get them on the same page here, and you can play a role with that with sharing your thoughts and concerns and the whole offering support. You're there to support them as an individual in the coaching relationship or as a group or a duo in the mediation situation. You want them to know that they have your support, but you are not doing it for them. You are not fixing the problem for them. They have your support, but they are responsible for figuring it out. And if you've done the things previous to this, expressing empathy, getting them involved, inspiring confidence in them, by the time you get down to the support, they should be in agreement that, it's their job to do. So, important questions. If things do not get resolved, right? What will happen if things continue? What could be contributing to conflict? Some painting the picture on what's going to happen if it's not going to be resolved, and as you're coaching or mediating, throwing these questions out there as examples and to get the wheels turning to inspire a greater commitment out of the folks you're working with so that you can get to a resolution faster. Lots of questions. Coaching, 90% of coaching is questions, asking really good questions and inspiring different perspectives. And in that spirit, the questions should achieve what these bullet points communicate. Someone says something, what do you think about that? How can you do things differently? How can that be affecting you and the other person in a negative manner? Questions are powerful. So we don't want to be given instruction. We don't want to be telling what to do. We want to be asking questions and provoking self-reflection and thought that will lead them to coming up with solutions. And it all ties back to this, right? During the open clarification and the development of solution and agreement on solution and actions and close, we're constantly coaching or mediating. Constantly coaching and mediating. We're constantly paying attention to the key principles of personal needs. How are we building self-esteem? How are we expressing empathy? How are we getting them involved? How are we being candid with our thoughts and feelings about things to build trust and to let them know that we understand? And how are we showing them support without removing responsibility from them? So you're a leader. You have two individuals that are working together, Dana and Alex. Some things about Dana: very influential, outgoing, assertive, has interest in leadership, and works with you. We do another program called Social Styles. This is what we would call an expressive personality or an expressive style. Lots of great things come with this style. Lots of opportunities for improve or for to manage for greater productivity. Alex, highly analytical, reserved, can get in paralysis by analysis, technical resource, works from home. So you can paint a picture. We would call this analytical, as it says at the top. But you can see the potential for conflict right off the bat. Call it personalities, call it styles, whatnot. So I'll let you kind of read over this. Dana and Alex work together, and they have specific things that they're tasked with. And part of them working together is they need to provide recommendations for the committee in less than 2 weeks. So as a leader, you're allowing them to do their job. You're allowing them to work. And because they're professionals, you're counting on everything being productive and them getting to the results needed to make recommendations. Your first check-in. There are some signs of discord, as you learned with both of them. Both of them have got issues with the other person, right? Dana thinks that Alex is too over-analytical, which is slowing them down. And Alex doesn't like the fact that Dana is too impatient, right? But at this point, they're approaching discord, so they're still playing in the differences stage. They're at discord, and they think that they can work things out. The conflict continues, though. So as you're doing the check-in in the other situations, you're trying to coach, and you're trying to help them see each other's perspective on a one-on-one basis. You realize that continues. So at this point, what would you do? Would you coach or would you mediate? It says at the end here, this set of separate meetings, so it looks like the DDI's perspective is that you're going to go more into the coaching as you're feeling this more discord than dispute. As a leader, it's really good to set ground rules. Respecting everyone's feelings and ideas, focusing on facts, inspiring people to take responsibility for their actions and admit their mistakes. So it's almost like you're coaching Dana and Alex to have a productive conversation with each other, right? So you have the end result in mind. They need to make recommendations to the steering committee, but right now you've got to help them work more productively with one another. And part of it is helping them establish some good ground rules for their conversation, and hopefully they commit to that. And when you move into the mediator role, remember there's a coaching role and there's a mediator role. Your number one job as a mediator is to keep the conversation moving along in a productive direction. And if people are not If people are not following the ground rules that were established, you own them, right? You own the ground rules. You're almost like you're playing a coach and referee at the same time, you know. So you're helping it become possible for people to talk about differences in a safe setting, and you're holding people accountable for focusing on the facts. My son is 5. I dropped him off at school this morning. One of the hall attendants had 2 boys on each side of the hall, and she was trying to get facts around the situation, and the boys were focused on attacking each other. She was having a heck of a time mediating that situation. I would much rather do it in this environment than that environment. But as a leader, you know, you have a lot of things to focus on. You have a lot of things to focus on. It's your responsibility to focus on the vision, the mission, the values. You're responsible for helping set an example of what kind of culture you would like in the organization. And it would, in a perfect world, you would be doing nothing but focusing on strategies and tasks that contributed to creating a more meaningful, positive experience for your residents. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect world, and conflict will come up, and part of providing that experience is your staff being on the same page with everything and being able to work together as productively. So as a leader, we want to own and play ref for the culture and the mission, the vision, and the values, and when needed, we need to be able to guide the folks we work with into being as productive as possible, including when conflict happens. So recapping to this, as a leader, you need to recognize signs of conflict. So we talked about that. We recognize signs of conflict, and don't turn a cheek to it. Not saying get involved very deeply, but don't turn a cheek to it. Be paying attention to it. Having an attitude of the opportunities that can come out of conflicts and promoting that. You want to promote discovery in an effort to prevent damage. Who's accountable? As a leader, you are accountable. We are accountable as leaders. At the end of the day, we are responsible for the organization achieving its results. And it's important we recognize what that accountability means and what we can do to move situations forward in the most productive manner. And that leads to coaching to meet those personal needs and practical needs. You know, we went over the personal needs, building the self-esteem, expressing empathy, getting people involved, sharing our thoughts and feelings, and letting everybody know that they have support, but it's on them to resolve things and fix things. And we can play the role. We can own the hat. We can own the common goal. As we're in the mediating situation and we're recognizing there's differences, we are the consistency. We are the focus. We are the goal, and we are representing the goal. We are representing the common goal, and we are coaching and mediating the situation so that they are able to focus on the common goal, clarify the issues, develop resolution, commit to and agree on a resolution, what actions need to be taken, and make sure everybody's on the same page. As leaders, we can play a role in making sure that happens. And finally, none of this matters unless you're willing to apply this stuff to your daily environments. We all encounter conflict. It's really how our attitude going into it and how we handle it, like many things in life, that's going to dictate the results we get. So I would like to thank everybody for joining me for this free 30-minute webinar. Again, my information is right there. You can give me a call or email me. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is a small piece of a bigger program resolving workplace conflict that can be facilitated in 4-hour and 2-hour sessions. And like I said earlier in the webinar, last week I facilitated this for one of our clients. It was facilitating navigating beyond conflict, and there was a lot of ahas. People got a lot of great value out of it. So this is something I think we might take for granted, but it's something so critical that if we manage conflict productively, sky's the limit. If we ignore it, it can destroy everything. So please be proactive in managing conflict within your environment. So thank you everyone for your time. This is being recorded right now, so if you want to come back to it, listen to it, or forward this on to another one of your associates, it will be available. So have a great rest of the week, and hope to see you at our next free 30-minute webinar.